And call to order the Tuesday, December 2nd meeting of the St. Bernard Community Improvement Corporation. If we could have a roll call by the secretary, please.
President Stuchel.
Present.
Vice President Olson.
Present.
Treasurer Culbertson. Joe Brickler. Peggy Rickway.
Here.
Ray Culbertson.
Here.
Chris Sauer.
Here.
Chris Schildmeyer. Jerry Wiedemann. Amy Osmali.
Okay, with the absence of our treasurer, Mr. Culberson, I'm going to fill in on that. Currently, the balance in our Fifth Third account is $455,233.32. The First State account, $9,998.06. As far as the minutes, is there a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, this evening we have a presentation from the Civitas Development Group. This evening we have Darren and Tillman from Civitas and Steve Kennett from GBBN. At this time we'll go ahead and turn this over to Darren.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to get a chance to get back in front of you again. I hope everybody's Thanksgiving was good. We are coming back in front of you again this evening for a couple of purposes, but just to remind you of, I'm sorry? Yeah, you need me to speak even louder? I think it sounds like I'm yelling here, but can you hear me better now? Okay, so I said it's good to be back in front of you again. We're coming to you this evening to do a couple of things. It's to give you an update and an overview of what we all learned through the community engagement process, and then bring you up to speed on where we've been since then. And then we've got a couple deal-specific documents that we like to talk about at that point. So if we could go on. So this is just the reminder of the proposal that we put forward to you. Basically, executive summary of the transaction. You've seen it about 10 times by now, but it's just really quick. It says what we're doing. I can't see it. Well, hold on. I can't see. It says who we are. So it's Civitas Development. We're seeking to acquire the property to build a 200-unit market rate residential project with up to 10,000 square feet of retail. Nothing that we haven't talked about before, everything that we talked about in the engagement session. Next slide, please. The location is obviously where it is. You can speed through that one, Taylor. Then this is just the bio about me, what I've done, Civitas, and my partner, Brian Doucette, who is not here but is on the phone later, and we'll go to the next one. So the development team, as we have laid out, is Civitas as a developer. We have GBBN as our architecture firm. That's Steve Kennett is leading that effort. You've seen him here. It says right there that the contractor is TBD. We've been working very closely with Triversity to help with the pre-development cost and making sure the diligence is right, but we have not selected a general contractor or a property management company because we've got to finalize what we're actually going to get built, and then we can start to get hard proposals and from the other teams. The important thing about the property management company is important for a couple reasons. Number one, they've got to be excellent at managing this asset so that it looks in the community like it's supposed to look for the next 40 or 50 years. But even before that, the property management company has to be able to get through the HUD experience filter. HUD is going to be our senior lender. So there's a certain hurdle that these guys have got to meet. But we've been in touch with all of the big groups here and some out of region to talk about this. But you will be involved as we're deciding who it gets to be, so there will be nothing that's a surprise to you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so where have we been since then? So the diligence. So like I said, Civitas, GBBN, and Triversity have continued to meet. to refine the design, the product mix, the parking cost, and other elements. And specifically, when I say product mix, I mean how many 3-bedrooms, how many 2-bedrooms, how many studios that we're going to do. We just don't know that. That comes as a result of the market study that you get to tell you what the market will demand and what do you think you should price for it. Before we can do that, we're continuing to engage with Duke Energy. You all know about the easement that runs right through the middle of the property. We've had conversations with them. We've shared with you before about the correspondence from them that says they will be removing that line somewhere between 2024 and 2026, just depending on when they get to it. The important part is that that line goes away. We collectively don't have to pay for it, but then the easement also goes away. So they're going to relocate that line, and that's the best thing that we could all come up with. That will cost easily $500,000-$600,000 if we had to do that ourselves. So that's good. Demolition. We didn't know that. So anyway, we've been talking with O'Rourke Reckon. We got a proposal to do that demolition of the site, of the buildings on the site, in a phased manner, in a way that most importantly does not disrupt the businesses that are still going to be operating while we're doing our job. We picked O'Rourke because I think they're the very best at what they do when you have demolitions that are in tight spaces that need to be done on time, respectfully in community. I've worked with them many times during my time at the Port Authority, 7-8 years. They always come in on time and usually at or under budget. So they're the right people, and then they have a connection to St. Bernard as well. I told you that market study is important. So we hired a company that's called VS Insights. And the reason we hired VS Insights is they are a HUD-approved market study research firm that has been engaged on quite a bit of all of the multifamily development projects in this region around town. So we hired them, was it November, end of November, to do the market study. The market study will tells us, you know, our assumptions and our pro forma correct? What's the market demand? And again, do you build all 3 bedrooms? Do you build all townhouses? And what kind of comparable projects look like in this area? That market study is, it's been completed, and we will have that, I expect that in the next day or so. They won't show us what it is. They're telling us that it is in line with what we predicted. As soon as we get a chance to have it, we will share that with you all, like we said. But it's good. They didn't tell us to run away yet, so that's a good thing. So we're going to talk about money now. So you're saying, well, how are you going to do this? So we've got a capital stack that's pretty straightforward. We are going to use the HUD 221D4 program, which is a program that's very good for us. It gives us 40-year money. It gives us a competitive interest rate, and it's the right kind of product that has been successfully used in this area and around the country. So it's a good thing. So that's the senior debt lender. We'll use tax increment financing, or TIF, from the Port Authority as the second layer, and then the final layer of that will be, as I say there, it's developer equity. I included the CIC. You're not going to write any check, but your equity is the land that we're working with, and the 10% that you'll have there. The final thing is that, so there are 2 final things. So where it says additional items, there are other third-party reports that we have to do. Think of things like environmentals or appraisals that we have to do. We haven't ordered them yet because there's a specific sequence that you have to follow when you're going through a HUD program, or else they'll make you do it again. So, for example, they've said that the appraisal can be no older than 120 days before the final packet gets submitted, or they'll need you to do it again, and that's a big expense. So we want to follow along in the way that we're doing it. So then the final thing is we've got a pre-development agreement and a letter of intent that we've already talked about, that we'd like to talk about, that has some specific deal points that we'd like to talk about, and they're confidential, so we would like to get into that discussion with you, if we could.
I guess at this point, if this is a good breaking point, I would actually like to ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the sale of property.
Okay.
Who?
I'll make that motion to go into executive session.
Just a little louder. All right. On the motion to go into executive session to discuss the sale of property, Jonathan Studo?
Yes.
Tom Rolson?
Yes.
Joe Brickler? Peggy Brickway?
Yes.
Ray Culbertson?
Yes.
Chris Sauer?
Yes.
Jerry Wiedemann? Amy Ismail?
Yes.
Motion passes.
At this point, we're just going to take a quick break. Everyone else here that's in attendance is welcome to we're just going to excuse ourselves for a short time to go in the conference room, and we'll be back to go back into our regular meeting. Okay, at this point, we're going to ask for,
I do want to watch you do
we're going to ask for a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll second.
All right.
On the motion to come out of executive session, Jonathan Stuchel,
Yes.
Tom Rolson,
Yes.
Joe Brickler,
Yes.
Peggy Brickwick,
Yes.
Ray Culbertson,
Yes.
Chris Sauer,
Yes.
Jerry Wiedemann,
Yes.
Amy Osmalley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So at this point, we'll turn this back over to, Darren, who has some slides to go through here and some brief presentation.
So thank you, Mayor Stuchel. The last slide here is just next steps. So what you all can expect to see happen next as we move forward with this transaction. So the first thing is that we would like to move forward with the documents that we had before you so that we can get to the drafting of the purchase and sale agreement. As soon as we can get that signed, that leads to everything else. I'm straining to see across the room. So the next piece of work, or while we're doing that, is we're going to refine the design aesthetic, which includes developing the number of how many 3-bedrooms, how many 2-bedrooms, how many ones, and how many studios get built. All of that information comes out of the market study. And so while we're doing that, we continue to work on what are the final, what does it look like on the exterior, make sure we get the parking right, all of the things that we'll be in contact with you about, but it won't be anything that's different than what we've talked about to this point. Be clear that we'll be in regular communication with the CIC. After that is, what does it say? Oh, interviewing and selecting the appropriate property management and construction companies. I got into that a little bit, but it's really, really important for everybody that we get the right property management company that is experienced in managing this kind of market rate development. This is not affordable housing. This is really nice quality stuff that's going to benefit everybody in St. Bernard. I think I need to make a point that we said HUD financing. HUD financing, a lot of people think a lot of different things about it. The HUD program that we're using is for market rate. It's not for affordable housing. There is no requirement that we do that. So that's the product what we're using, which is consistent with what we'd always said since we've been here. At the same time, we've got to have a construction company that, number one, we like. Number two is good at what they do, but also has some level of projects behind them and experience that makes our senior lender comfortable in doing it. So we're picking the right team. We think that the folks that we like already will be right, but we've got to go through that process methodically to make the lender happy. And then the final thing is to...
One thing that I'd like to add on that, in selecting the property manager, one thing I'd like to add on selecting the property manager is that in order to get through the HUD application process, they have to, validate the property manager. They have to check all the boxes. A lot of those have prior HUD experience, which means that they're more than likely going to give us a favorable percentage of revenue that they'll be charging, as opposed to a smaller kind of upstart, less, or property manager with less scale who might charge a higher fee. So I think that, going down the HUD route is going to keep the property management cost in line with market rate.
So if we want to, and after we do that, we'll be in a position to close on the properties and get all moved forward. But what we want to leave you with is that we are looking to be partners together in this. This doesn't work without the CIC with us as we walk through this. We don't want to do it without the CIC. We work in communities where we have that relationship. We could be a lot of places, but we thought that, and still do think that this is a place where we can collectively make a difference. You guys have been great with us so far, and we've tried to do everything that we promised. So that's our model of how we move forward. we will have the very best team across all levels of what we do to make you comfortable that this, really important piece of real estate in St. Bernard will get developed to its highest and best use. And so with that, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk to you again, and we'll stand for any questions, and hopefully you will feel like you want to support us and we can keep moving along. Thank you.
So we appreciate that. So just to kind of summarize, just to make sure that the board and everyone in the audience is clear on this, at this point, we are going to be, asking for approval from the board, basically to agree and sign off on this letter of intent, which again would turn over the properties at 4911 Vine Street, 4901 Vine Street, and 5100 Vine Street. Again, the 5100 Vine Street property is the old Long John Silver's and Firehouse property, which would be, again, a future development opportunity.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
The 5100 Vine Street property is a property that we always considered in the community engagement process. We did not talk in great specifics about what that would be. So what we want to commit to you all is that there will be a chance for the community to hear that as we come back with it, so that this is not anything that will be a surprise to the neighborhood and we sneak, a discotheque onto the site. This will be in line with what we all heard, and you'll have an opportunity as a partner to participate in that, like everything else.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So at this point, I would like to ask, you have all been presented with the letter of intent, with the terms, and I would like to ask for a motion to approve the letter of intent for this proposed $32 million project, which allows for the CIC to be a 10% equity partner in the project. It also will allow for the proposed purchase of our buyout on the First State Bank building as well. So if there aren't any questions at this point, I would like to ask for a motion to accept this letter of intent as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
On the motion to approve the letter of intent for the proposed $32 million project in which the CIC would be a 10% equity partner, President Stuchel,
Yes.
Tom Rolston,
Yes.
Joe Brickler,
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Brickler,
Yes.
Ray Culbertson,
Yes.
Chris Sauer,
Yes.
Jerry Wiedemann, Amy Ismail.
Yes.
The motion carries.
We don't need to do this separate.
Thank you.
No.
So yeah, I'll email you tomorrow and we'll coordinate signatures. Frankly, it's just an extension of the preliminary development agreement, and it just incorporates the terms from the letter of intent. Unless someone on the board disagrees, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it and look forward to this working together in this future project.
Thank you very much. We're very excited about possibilities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item on the action items, the RFP for the Tower Avenue property. For those in the audience and of course on the board, you've seen or I'm hoping you've seen, the request for proposals. Taylor, if you might want to enlighten us just a little bit on this discussion.
Absolutely. So based on our discussions in the last meeting about actually listing this property for sale and accepting proposals for it, this is the draft copy of the RFP. I currently have contemplated that if this is voted in tonight and approved tonight, that they would be due by January 31st at 4 p.m., so it's about 60 days. That way we can then review in the coming weeks and get it on the agenda for February to hopefully decide on an ultimate proposal if we receive several that are amenable. A couple of the things that we talked about that I tried to capture here, we are seeking one buyer for the 4 lots with the intent to construct 4 single-family connected townhomes. We are looking for a for-sale residential product, that the design should consider an understanding of the aesthetic characteristics of the neighborhood. At a minimum, the exterior materials, facade, and height of homes should be complementary to surrounding homes and reflect a townhome style. I inserted in here that they must provide off-street parking and install any necessary curb cuts to accommodate that, and that any consolidation of the parcels for this development will be the financial responsibility of the buyer. So I think that about covers it. If anybody has any questions or comments here.
As pointed out by the VP, we just one minor correction on the deadline for submission. Just before we post that tomorrow or whenever after it's approved. And
I missed that one. Not 2021, it is 2022. I'm going to keep messing that up.
It's not real yet, so that makes sense.
Mr. President, I guess the one question I have is, so, because after all that confusion on the last one, are they going to put a bid in for the price of the property? Remember, we had all that mess up when they were paying for the lot and then the house or whatever. What do you want their proposal to be?
So this lays out the process of, this is basically a cover sheet for the commercial multifamily multi-property application. So they will have to fill out everything that we've already asked for in that. Plans, as we said in here, are encouraged, or in supplemental information to give us an idea of what this looks like. I think if we're asking for a specific aesthetic, that matches the rest of the neighborhood, we need to know what they're envisioning here. The other thing for proposed purchase price, we did say at a minimum that they need to reflect the current market value of the land based on the auditor's assessment, as it's stated there. So if someone is to propose something different than that, then they're going to have to defend.
Can I ask, do you know what that is? I'm just curious.
I believe it's about 18 per lot right now.
18,000 per lot?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. So if
Okay.
folks are welcome to propose whatever they propose, but has to be defensible, and that's our starting point in this.
So at this point, I'm just going to go mildly out of order and allow for normally public participation would come at the end, but I'm okay with actually, if someone right now, since we're on this, to go ahead, and if they do have a question, I'm all right with public question.
Yeah, it's all the zoning been taken care of through the Department of
So the question was whether or not all of the zoning and variances have been taken care of, and the answer is we've done no research whatsoever, so I'm not sure. That would be part of the buyer's responsibility as well.
And then I have to
Mr.
ask, is it
President,
zoned for 4? I mean,
Yeah,
is
we
it
s-
zoned for 4?
It was started out, there was going to be 2 units,
Yeah, that's why.
So I would assume that this
careful with
is,
that.
it's been through the,
I mean, I'm happy to do the research. It just,
Yeah, well, I'm
as
saying-
of the date of right now, we haven't.
Because it sounds like this is different than what was originally proposed to council, so, a long time ago,
So if there were going to be 3 total with 2 units each, that's an additional 4 units that aren't constructed now, and that's what we're asking for here.
Yeah, but then we want the 2 single-family homes, that's why I asked it, it's been all over the place.
But it was approved before to allow for the townhomes, and then it was proposed potentially the option to go with single-family, going back to consistent construction. So we're sticking with the basically kind of the original plan for that actual tract.
Do all 4 homes have to be connected, or can it be 2 and 2?
It's not currently defined in here. There has to be some form of connection in townhome fashion as defined by this. I don't think that, as far as I've heard, we haven't laid out a firm preference one way or another. I think we're keeping our options open on that.
So I'm gonna be, it literally says 4 single-family connected townhomes. So when I read that, I think all 4 have to be connected. Am I reading that wrong?
Yeah, there just has to be some connecting wall between two units. Yeah, it can't be 4 single-family homes.
I know how it was discussed, I'm sorry, I know how it was discussed at the meeting, and we were ideally, it would be 2 connected,
Okay.
but we're leaving it open.
Because I'm just saying, when I read that, that's not what I read.
Mr. President? I mean, wouldn't this be an easy fix to find out through the guy downstairs? If it's zoned, I would think we could get a pretty quick answer.
We can get a quick answer by the morning, but again, this was the original plan that was proposed, and it was marketed that way. We already were under obligation with a previous developer to build on that, and it was sold to them with that intent. So we didn't take anything back.
No, but right, my confusion is when I read 4 single connected homes, I read 4 homes together. I'm sorry, that's just the way I read that, so that's where I got confused.
But the original question is that whether or not you could build townhomes there. It was originally laid out, it was developed that way, and that was that original plan, which basically the CIC was under contract with someone to allow for the townhomes to be built there. So if we want to have clarification on whether or not the 4 have to be connected per se, or whether it could be 2 and 2, whether or not we want to actually clarify that, that might be the only suggestion.
So could I make a suggestion? Perhaps we add to this a deadline for questions, and then we put out a document that answers said questions so that everyone who is submitting for the RFP can see the answers to that. So I would propose that we set a deadline of December 31st for questions on this, and that we will, on a rolling basis, be updating those as they're received. But that's the deadline that we can receive questions by.
So would that mean that we would delay posting or we'd extend the deadline for submission, or are we saying that?
No, I'm saying that there's a deadline for questions by December 31st. The application, or the proposals aren't due until January 31st. So if we stop receiving questions and responding to questions publicly at that time, then there's still a full month to respond to those answers. Hopefully folks will get their questions in early if they're really itching to get some good answers.
So at this point, I guess we'll be asking for a motion to approve the RFP as presented with any clarifications and modifications to this before posting, but based on the terms to have the deadline for submission of January 31st, 2022 by 4 p.m.
Need a motion?
Is there a motion?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll
there's a
make that motion, yeah.
I'll second it.
I wasn't.
The motion to approve the RFP with the 2 alterations suggested, including the question time period and adjusting the deadline from 2021 to 2022. Jonathan Stuchel?
Yes.
Tom Rolfson?
Yes.
Joe Brickler?
Yes.
Peggy Brickwick?
Yes.
Ray Culbertson?
Yes.
Chris Sauer?
Yes.
Jerry Wiedemann? Yes. Amy Osmel? Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a license agreement with St. Clement for the use of property. So basically, as it stands, St. Clement has been utilizing the current vacant lot to the south of, on Vine Street of St. Clement School basically using it for playground place, or a playground option for them instead of going to the park. So basically what is being proposed after the suggestion of our insurance provider, as you're aware, St. Clement came forward and actually was asking to purchase the property, which at this point we decided to table that option until we have been able to complete the actual master plan process for the Vine Street corridor. So basically what is being proposed is to allow St. Clement to continue utilizing the property for an agreed-upon amount without allowing to make any any permanent improvements to the property, such as a fence or any gates, anything like that. They would have to agree to maintain the property, basically mowing the lot, and also they would be required to restore the lot, because as of right now, the grass is pretty much gone. Our insurance provider had stated that this loose agreement, or lack of agreement, I should say, letting them continue to play on that lot without any kind of formalized agreement, and also having the CIC as a named insured with a minimum of $1 million in liability coverage is an issue. So at this point, basically what we're proposing is to allow for them to continue. We would work out a lease rate, which I am honestly suggesting that if they're going to assume the maintenance of the lot, that we're not trying to really recover any kind of excessive amount. And I would actually, to be honest with you, my proposal would be $1 a month.
So you don't want it to be 2?
Yeah, I mean, we can be, if they, yeah. So at this point, my suggestion would be $1 a month, as long as they, again, are in agreement to the terms to maintain the lot, as far as, again, not limited to grass cutting, trimming the trees, bushes, picking up of any waste, and also, again, maintaining the property so that it, again, the aesthetic value is maintained. So at this, I would like to be able to move forward with that, give them, our terms, and I would like to ask for the approval by the board to allow them to do that again for, $1 a month. And then this does not bind us to selling them the property, even though they're interested in it, but allows them to continue to be able to use that until we can move forward with a permanent plan that would be, again, presented to them if they, want to make an offer on it when we're ready to sell.
John,
I'm sorry here, and maybe, does it indicate or imply, because in the lease agreement, what is the length of the terms?
so a license is separate from a lease. A license is literally just permission to use the property under certain terms and conditions. It is not a lease, so there is no set term. It lasts for as long as we let it last. It is terminable at will.
Okay, and they understand that this would be I can't say words.
I've not yet spoken to them.
So at this point, they would understand that if they wish to agree to the use of it. So basically, this is what based on the recommendation of the Property Review Committee, basically setting forward to the board to allow for this to go forward. I feel honestly this is the right thing to do, to allow them to use the property that as of right now that we're not marketing, even though they had an interest in the purchase of it. But again, this agreement could be terminated at will at any time.
My next question is that the $1 million and minimum amount of $1 million, was that the amount that was suggested by our insurance company that they need to have on their rider?
Yes.
And honestly, it's probably the amount that they already have. They just need to add us as an additional insured.
I guess the only thing that makes me a little nervous is that I like seeing dates, because that gives, boundaries. That's the only thing, but I understand.
But it would also bind us as much as it bound them.
Yeah. I understand the situation.
Does the $1 a month thing need to be captured in this document?
I would say yes. and that could be modified.
Okay.
So at this point, we would be asking for a motion to approve the license agreement as presented, and of course modified to basically reflect the $1 a month fee for the use of the property. Is there a?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
On the motion to approve the license agreement with the $1 a month addition, Jonathan Stuchel,
Yes.
Tom Rolfson,
Yes.
Joe Brickler,
Yes.
Peggy Brickwick,
Yes.
Ray Culbertson,
Yes.
Chris Sauer,
Yes.
Jerry Wiedemann. Yes. Amy Ismail.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, at this point, is there anyone on the board that has anything under open discussion or additional agenda items?
Mr. President,
Is the beer cold?
Mr. Culberson?
not to take the place of Tom, but is there any dialogue, or are we at liberty to know what the situation is with the coffee shop moving up? It seems like it's been long overdue.
So from what I understand, it is hopefully going to happen within the next 30 days. I'll have an exact date on that. I know that they were trying to get the project completed, the difficulty of actually having contractors complete the work so that they can get final inspections with respect to plumbing and electrical. So there was a definite delay on that, and I sympathize with their frustration on that because it didn't go exactly quite how it was originally planned. So, but hopefully within the next 30 days, and I will hopefully get an exact time frame for you.
I have a question. I was on Trulia the other day, and I noticed that the property that is adjacent to the vacant parcel on the other side of the former police station is now listed. Is that something that, you're all looking at me like I'm crazy?
Now, you're speaking of on the same side of the street as the police station?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that.
The gray and white building?
Correct.
Yes.
The gray,
Well, it's
you're talking about the
gray,
tan, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Just south of the police station?
Yes.
Did you see what it was listed for?
Much.
It's like, I can't remember if it's 118 or 180. I'm flipping some numbers.
118,
in
I
my-
might look at it.
I think it's like 180.
She's typing
I mean, that's something I guess we could look at and see if there was any.
We have the vacant parcel and the police station, well, access to the police station.
Correct.
So that would be a block. I mean, I'm just wondering if that's something that should be on our radar or not.
I think we can explore that.
It's 155.
Thank you.
And to clarify, it is the parcel that's immediately south of the police station, is that correct?
Street address?
4626 Vine, immediately south of the police station.
St. Clair's old building. I wish you didn't get that much for it.
We can,
It's already pending.
anything
else for the board under additional agenda items?
anything from the audience under additional agenda items or open discussion? Okay, fabulous. That's great. All right. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, December 28th. I think we should keep that meeting. You don't? No. At this point, we'll keep it scheduled unless otherwise, determined that we need to postpone it. At this point, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.